Hello again. Welcome to another tutorial on about Stacknet smart contracts. And today we are going to look into writing a smart contract. So we have looked into a number of things: setting up our environment, learning Cairo itself, how the contract logic looks like. And today we are going to look into creating a new contract. So let's first read through this and see what's here. So creating a new project is rather easy. You can either use Scab or use SNForge. So to create a new project, just do Scab new, the project name. That's the example usage. That's the test project. Then using SNForge is SNForge init, the project name. And example usage is this one here. So what's the difference? Scab scaffold is just an empty working directory with the required initial files, while SNForge scaffolds a working directory using a template from Stacknet Foundry, meaning it comes with a simple contract and its tests. SNForge scaffolding is already a contract that can be tested, deployed, and interacted with using either SNCast or Stackly. So as I said earlier when we were, I think, setting up our environment, I talked a bit about Scab and SNForge. So this is the difference. Scab's project is sort of just a project, and SNForge has something different. So let's quickly run them up and see how they work. So let me start with Scab. So if I click on the Scab one, go to where I want this to be. So I want it to be under there, then under projects. So I want to create open terminal actually, and then I delete this one here and this one there because I don't need them. And here I'm going to paste that one in. So Scab new test project. So let's see what we have. So if we open our test project in VS Code, this is what we get. So let me just expand this and maybe increase the font. So just the source get ignored Scab. So if I expand the src and look at the lib.cairo, you will notice that it has the main function and just the Fibonacci function and a test. So this is how you do just a simple test. Then that's about Scab. So let's look at toml file. So the toml file comes with the package, that's the test project and the version. The dependencies are empty. So that's why I said Scab and SNForge sort of have a slight difference. So let's look at the scaffolding that is done by SNForge. So let me delete this one because we don't really require it, and copy the SNForge one, which will be using this onwards. So let's open it. Open with Visual Studio Code. So if I open this up in Visual Studio Code, you'll notice something different. First, now we have an included folder for tests. So let's look at the SRC folder. So you'll notice in the SRC folder we have the interface. Okay, just a contract with the contract logic that we had discussed earlier in the previous chapter. That is a contract logic chapter. So it has a contract in it, and this is a simple contract. It's called Hello Stacknet, and it's like the hello world of Stacknet. So it has been scaffolded by Stacknet Foundry for ease. So quickly have something to a starting ground. That's the thing. So in this case, you can see a trait that's a Stacknet interface for iHello Stacknet with the two functions increase balance and get balance. The storage struct, of course, the contract, that's Hello Stacknet storage struct, then the implementation. Then we have tests here. So under the test, they have imported something from Stacknet, that's the contract address, SNForge standard. So these are the testing tools. We have the clear and contract class trait. We have from the test project import a hello save dispatcher and the save dispatcher trait. So the dispatchers helps. So the dispatcher in this case will help us sort of now be able to have access to the functions so that we can call them, and the dispatcher trait will expose those functions. I think, yeah, that's the work of the dispatcher trait, disposing those functions. If I were to, let's just try getting off. So if I shut down the dispatcher trait, our functions are gone. It's because all functions have been like exposed by the dispatcher treat. That's why we also need it, as much as you don't see its direct usage here. Yeah. Then that's about the test. So in this we have the first one, that okay, the first function in the test, deploy contract. Then the first test, that's test increase balance, with this 0. But the here we are just waiting to have this sort of panic. Where do we get the panic? Oh, panic with the file 252. Okay, so that's how it goes. And also under scap.toml file, now we have a SendForge standard, and it has been initialized by 0.10.1 version of a SendForge standard, and also for StackNet 2.3.0. And also we have something here that helps the compiler to be able to compile the contract class, and also the Sierra. We have the compiled class. Let me just compile this. So scap build and see what it outputs. So with this line here, these two lines, they help the compiler be able to provide a few things. That is the compiled contract class and also the contract class. Yeah. So one is a Sierra file, or so this is the Casim one, and this is the Sierra program. Yeah. So that's what this line does. If you eliminate this line from your code, then there are high chances you are going to get something else, or missing, I think, is the compiled contract class, because the current version of StackNet Foundry, by default, you don't have to add Sierra here for it to be able to compile or output the Sierra bytes, the Sierra code, the Sierra JSON. So the current version, sort of, you only need to do Casim and that's it. So I believe that's a better intro. I don't know. I believe it is. So without further ado, let's initialize a new project, and I'll let you know the projects that we are going to do today. So what are we going to do today? So to help us be able to learn Cairo much more and how to write smart contracts on StackNet, we are going to use a donation platform. So the project name is Donation. So why did I choose donation? It sort of has a number of fields that we can explore to help us touch based on a number of really separate things. So the ones that I did not catch in while we were learning Cairo, and some that I missed along the way while introducing StackNet. So we have our project there. So let's cd to donation. Then I need to open VS Code there. Now we have VS Code up and running. So let's see what we have. There we are. So we are back to the symbol contract given by StackNet Foundry. So what are we going to do? I'm not going to delete this because yeah, I need this. So let me just move it down and leave it there. Actually, I can just comment it out like this. And do I really need to even struggle pushing it down? I don't think so. So I'll leave it there hanging, and now there's a part that I didn't touch on. So let me also do that one. So we'll get back to these tests and see how we can use them to be able to create our own tests. So while we were learning Cairo book, I did not catch the things that under modularization of our code. And so I prefer, let's start easy, then as we go on, I'll start now using modules, that is different files, for us to be able to implement the entire logic as required. So let's get started. So what are we going to build? So we are going to build a donation platform. So what are the core features of this donation platform? So the core features are let's say one can create a campaign like that. The next one, let me do 1.2. And in fact, why are we struggling here? Let's just quickly use an MD file. So maybe donation.md, and once we have that one, I'm going to do Control P, Markdown preview on the side. Yeah. So what are we going to do here? So hash donation platform on Stacknet. What do we expect? So maybe some of the features, I can't say that we can capture all of them here because I'm sort of brainstorming on the fly. So the first part is one can create a campaign. The next part is that campaign donations can be made in different tokens. The third one is that one can track the campaign status, and another thing is that campaigns are classified into different categories. So reason as to why I'm introducing this is for us to be able to learn about the enums that we didn't cover when we were learning Cairo book. So since I discovered some things are best that we learn them as we go on. So that's what we have. Like then in these campaigns at the end, one can withdraw funds of withdraw funds. Let's just leave at withdraw funds. And what other feature? I don't know. I believe some will come on the fly, but those are the ones I have for now. So this campaign can have sort of different, let me do dashes. Okay, they can sort of have different fields. Number one, we want to be able to track the token. So the token asset of donation, this is either, it can be, maybe we want this to be done in ETH, a stack, or in USDC, etc. We also want to be able to track the title, or not the title. After the title, some short description. And after the short description, maybe we can be able to also track the donations count, how many donations have been made to this given campaign. So in the donations, we can be able to track, so donations is a different field, but you can be able to track something else. So let me just do donations, maybe do here the who did the donation, that's the donor, the amount they did the donation, and maybe the time they did the donation. So this amount can be in terms of this. Then on the front end, I will also show you how maybe you can use something like Pragma to show the amount in USD. Okay, so also we need to have the target here, and start time or the start period. Is it the start date? Let's just do start date, and we have the target. What else can one do in a campaign? So under donations, we have the donor, the amount, and the time, start date, and let's also add creation date. But these are the so-called unnecessary fields sometimes, because yeah, you don't need to store a lot of data on the blockchain. But yeah, let's do this as an example. But believe if you are doing your own contract, you'll need to find a way of reducing the data, or sort of normalizing your data. Yeah. Then yep, I think let's say this is what we have, and let's try to work with this. So yep, I'll open my src folder here, go back to the lib.cairo file. Let me close my sidebar, and here, as I've said, we have the campaign struct. So struct campaign, And for our campaign, we need it to have maybe an ID, and this ID is going to be something like U256. I'm setting it to be a large number. And also the reason as to why I'm having an ID is to help us be able to track different campaigns. So the ID, the title, this is a felt 252. And remember, felt 252 cannot exceed that one characters as of now. So that's StackNet v230. Yeah. Then after the title, and we have the short description. And I'm going to say to split this description, maybe let's say we want 250 characters of a description. Then we can split it into how many? So it's 250 divided by 30. That will give us something like I think 8. Yep, something like eight different segments. Okay, something like 8 segments like that. So let me add a comma here, sorry for this. And the description here is a felt 252. So for the 8 segments, I'm not sure how we can track them securely, but let's just reduce this maybe to exactly 3 segments and avoid the 8 segments. So we just reduce to 30 times 3, that's 90 characters, so that we can do description _1 and 2 and 3. Reason as to why we do like this is to also be able to just have a long description, just along the description long enough to be able to handle this. So in the front end, we'll only be able to track like just 90 characters, and that's it. But sometimes you might need to save this information to something like a PFS, etc. Oh, I missed something as we were setting up. So under scab toml file, I've just recalled and I've said, let me just clear it right now before we go far. So you realize that we have said we have a SNForge standard 0.10.1 and StackNet 2.3.0. Remember, those should be the same versions as you have installed. So scab version should give us scab and the Cairo 2.3.0. So with that one, it means like they sort of align themselves. So 2.3.0 is the same version of StackNet that we have here. So and SNForge or SNCast version, we get 0.10.1, 0.10.1. So there are high chances you started your project to scab new because you didn't want the default scaffolding. Yeah, that one can work. But when you reach at this point, just quickly grab the versions from your terminal and put them here. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of problems because of the version mismatch, and you won't see the error. So let's open this. Yep. So we have the description there. So let me just say first segment. Okay. Second and third, like that. Then after the description, we're going to have the target amount. So how much do we target? This should be a U256 since we don't have decimals. Then we have the next start date. So for the start dates, this should be a timestamp. So yeah, this we shall change this to timestamp. Am I doing this one the correct way? Let me try to see whether I can get it. I think I'm missing something. So use StackNet. Yeah, it get block timestamp. So in fact a timestamp is U64, so I don't know why I'm struggling with something of sort. Okay, so get block timestamp will help us pre-fill this field with the U64. Then also we have the creation date. So let's set the creation date to be the first one. And after the start date, creation date, we have the donations. So I want to do something like here, donations underscore counts. And also, let's say just how many donations. Let's just maybe use a U128, maybe. Not something large, but so for each donation, a donation can, okay, right. So we have the donations there. So we can just say our struct for campaign is sort of complete. Oh, nope, not really complete. Something missing here. Yeah. The token. This is a contract address. So we need to import contract address from StackNet. So let me reduce this. So I need to do cal braces there. Where am I? Cal braces and import contract address like that. So this part of the things that I didn't talk about when we were doing the learn Cairo stuff. You can see if we are importing things from the same module, then there's no need of importing them separately. Just use cal braces and import them there at once. So cal braces and import everything that you want from there. Then after we have done that one, we are going to work on the next part that is called the donation itself. So struct donation, and for our donation, we really know this donation can have an ID, maybe 128. So one might ask, why do I have U128 here for donations, for each donation? Reason being, I'm tracking them in terms of, okay, the type is U128, though you can maybe convert it to a larger number, that's a U256, but because I'm tracking them in U128, that's the unsigned U int 128, then best that the rest of the stuff be U int 128. Next, we have the donor. So we know the donor is a contract address because it's not a name of a person. The amount should be matching this target here. Okay, the type, that's the thing. So yeah, it should be a U256. Then also we have the time when it happened, that's a U64 because block timestamp is in 64 bits stuff. Then finally we need to know, okay, I have the donor, the amount, and the time. I believe that's all. Then what next? So donor campaigns donations can be made in different tokens. One can track the campaign status. So how can I track the campaign status? So we have started the target, then the total. So I can also add something here, total donations, to be able to track the amount, okay, the current total amount of donations made. Believe that one is correct. And then finally we have, it's not finally, but almost there. Oh yeah, campaigns need to be categorized. So I'm going to introduce an enum here. And I'm just going to say category. So we want a campaign for maybe education specific. We have another one for hunger, and what other campaigns? So this is where they start becoming tough. Maybe education, hunger. I'm just going to add some random stuff here to help us have agriculture, a number of these categories. Then what next? Oh, I think those ones are enough. There's no need for us to really have them. So then the next thing I want to do is to categorize my platform. So by category, I do type category here like that. So I believe this one is in order. So we have our enum. So we didn't talk about enums when we were working on learning Cairo, but now I have introduced them here so that we can learn them as we go on. So what is next? The next thing can be doing our contract, I believe, some interfaces, some traits. So let's start. So the first one is doing a trait. So the first trait is donation trait. So the donor, yeah, I think we shall be adding other structs as we go on. So in the trait donation trait, this one will take in a generic, it will take in the, okay, it will be a generic trait so that we can be able to add or pass in our contract. And you might be asking yourself, how am I having the auto format? As I said, when we were setting up the environment, not really setting up the environment, but rather if you go to learn in Cairo, the first few minutes talk about doing the full setup. I missed something here that's on how to set up VS Code, but if you missed that one, then let's get here. So just make sure you only install 2 extensions. The first one is Cairo. Not that one. Sorry for that. We have Cairo 1.0 by Stack Your Industries. Then we have Cairo Syntax also by 0x, I think Charles. Yeah. So these 2 extensions, very critical. Then after you have done that, you need to go to your settings and search here for Cairo. So if you successfully search Cairo and you click on Cairo, then you will get this sort of page. You need to enable language server and enable SCAB. Then language server path. How can you get the language server path? Just to go to search, okay, go to your terminal and do scab. Is it commands? Not sure. Let's just try. Yeah, scab commands. You get the Cairo language server. So just paste it there. The scab path, scab path. Just get it by running scab. Oh, not scab, but rather which scab. So the which command can help you get the exact path. So I have my which scab and also pass it there. So the final one is this one, collip path. I don't know whether you will cram. I'm not sure whether this one helped somewhere, but just have it also. So this is home, my username dot cache scab registry standard std, the current version of scab, then core src. That's the collip path to help you have the auto completions and all those stuff. So let's get back to the contract. So in our donation trait, and also once you have done that, you can just format document or Control Shift I quick, or just see which command does that one. So in our trait here, I'm going to write in a few functions. The first function is maybe create campaign. So this will return nothing, and it will take in a reference to the contract state because we are going to update the contract state. So, okay, sorry for this. So the first parameter of any function in a trait is always self, and this self can either be a reference or a snapshot. So if you look at this, we have a reference. Let me just uncomment this out quickly. We have a ref self, contract state, and other parameters, and also we have get balance self, but at contract state. This is a snapshot. Reason ref enables editing, while at is just a copy. It does not enable editing of the contract state. So when we are creating our contract, we need a few things. The first one is the title. So we need to pass in the title here, which is felt 252. Next, we need to pass in the category of type category. Next, we need to pass in, I don't think we need this guy, and we don't need this. After category, we need the description one, which is a felt 252. We also need description 2, description 3, etc. So we quickly have them like that. Then after description 3, we need to have the target amount, that's U256. Then we have the total donations, which is U256. Then we have the we don't need to pass in creation date, but rather when it will start date, it is U256. And in fact, also we don't need to pass in total donations. This one will come in automatically. So that's our first function, create a campaign. Easy. The next function is maybe a function to donate. So this one also will take a ref cell, the contract state. Okay, state. And this one we are going to track a few things. The first one is the amount I want to donate, of course. I think that's it for donation. The amount, the donor will get them, and the time will get that one from the. So those are the two critical functions. Create campaign, donate. We really need to have another function. Yeah, we can have another function, but I want to do the second trait so as to show you how you can have 2-3 dispatchers in your contract and interact with them without problems. So let's create the second trait. Which one is this? Okay, let me call this I helper trait. Also, I need to change this one to I because we are using interfaces, the so from TypeScript, to just I believe this one is better than just donation trait. So I donation trait, I helper trait, and also this one will take in it will be a generic trait. So what does it do? It will also be having a few functions. The first one, fn get campaign. So this function will return a campaign, so it will take in a snapshot. So let's say self at t contract state, and maybe the campaign ID. So that is a U256. Is that the campaign ID? Yeah, we expect to have a number of campaigns, and it will return a campaign. Easy. The next one is another function, fn get campaign donations. So let's say we want to create a dashboard. So it will also take sort of all this stuff like that. Then it will return an array of a donation like that. That's it for this function. Another function is to get campaigns. So also it will be, so you can see that just sort of changed the way I use my functions. These are the right functions in the iDonation trait, and the iHelper trait contains all the read functions. So not all the time you have to do this. The reason as to we have done so is to sort of have multiple traits so that you can see how we can use them. So I want also to take in the page. Let's even use maybe a U that's 2 here for the current page. And in this case, we want to return an array of campaigns. So an array of campaigns like that. Then we have get campaigns. What next? Fn get campaigns per category. This is all the so-called can we say just to make our contract look like a normal website. So going to be able to take in the category here after the page. We want to be able to take in the category. One might ask, how are we going to use pagination? So the reason as to why I'm adding pagination to our campaigns is to purely have sort of not to load all the campaigns at once. We can just say, let's paginate this, because we'll be tracking the campaigns count separately. We'll get into that in detail. So far so good. We can say our functions or our traits and the initial contract is up or is up to a given point. So what's next? So before we go further, you can be able to see that now things are starting to get complex, so don't note that much. But yeah, we can say they are getting sort of out of hand. How can we control them back to the right lane? So the first one we want to do is now use the modularization and also something like to do with the types check. So we have a campaign whose IDs are U256. And also we have a donation whose IDs are U128. We have, and we are using those stuff down here. So why can't we now introduce types so that we can be able to see, okay, if somebody is reading through our code, they can be able to understand everything well. So let's start by that. So maybe I can just say type campaign ID equals to U256 symbol. Same for donation ID, which is a U128. So the reason as to why I do this is to help somebody following through, not just random stuff. And you'll also see the importance of having this when we reach to the storage struct. And I believe let's get back down to the storage struct to see more things there. So whenever I'm using a campaign ID, I need to do get campaign. I do here campaign ID. Whenever I do a campaign ID, get campaigns and per category. Okay, before I just go to the modularization part or putting our files into modules, let's just continue and just create everything here. Then we break everything separate. And the reason as to why you can do this is also to introduce components, though I won't cover components in this particular smart contracts, but they are also very nice to use. So now that we have our traits, let's do our contract. So I'm going to do mod donation. That's the contract name. And for our mod here, I have not done any decoration of macros. I'll just start introducing them as we go down and why we need them. So so donation is defined multiple times. Oh yeah. So we have a donation there. Okay, I think something else. Let me just move this up. Type donor ID equals to contract address. Let me just do the donor ID here. So I hello. Okay, let me just switch. Let me do campaign donation like that. Yeah, I think that one is better. So we have that. So let's do our contract. The first thing that we are going to do in our contract is to introduce the struct storage. So this one will help us track different things or different state variables. So the first one we're going to do here is the campaigns count. So under campaigns count is we are going to track how many campaigns we have. So we can just say U256, but we have a campaign ID, so we can just replace this with campaign. So let's just leave it at the count, just a normal count, U256. The next part is different campaigns. So how do we track campaigns? We don't have arrays in smart contracts, but we need to somehow be able to track different campaigns or store them. So for us to be able to store them correctly, we are going to use something called legacy map. So legacy maps are provided by StackNet. Yep. So we need to have the key and the value. So for this, we want to be able to say, for each of these, I'm going to use a campaign ID, and also I'm going to use the campaign itself here. But you'll notice now we are just getting sort of these errors that we don't really exactly want. So what I'm going to do is to import all the required things to this module from the outer modules. So we are going to do here is use super. We don't have star. You're going to have problems with that if you are from the Rust eco. So we just need to do campaign ID, or the campaign ID like this. And also we want the iDonation trait, iHelper trait, all those things that we have defined out there. We have category, we have campaign donation up to there. Believe the next part is to use StackNet. I'm not sure why I'm not getting this here, or am I doing it in the wrong way? Is it legacy map or legacy map? Oh. Okay, we'll get back to this in just a moment. So here we can just import the contract address, and that's it. So far we can say, why do I not get the StackNet stuff? Legacy map. Okay, let me see. I think I'm missing something. So I can just go to contract logic and see how I just used it there. Users. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry for that. It's because I've skipped a lot of things here. I said I'll add them. So I'm just forced to do this one first. Like that. Believe this should be able to solve this. Oh, okay. Let's also add the StackNet contract there. I think it is required. So I'm going to copy that. Paste it there. Yeah. So some will need this for you to start using the legacy map. Yeah. The contract and the storage. So just add them as we go on. We'll add the rest of the stuff in a moment, the rest of the macros. Okay, I don't think I've written the term campaigns here correctly. So we have campaigns there. So we have a campaign that goes with the campaign ID and the campaign. So we have campaigns count, campaign ID, campaign. What else do we need to track? Maybe donor donations. So I want to be able to track donor donations. Okay, before we go to donor donations, I want to be able to track the donations. So for each donation, we want to be able to also use the legacy map to track this. Okay, there. And there was something we talked about tuples as we were coming, as we were learning Cairo. So we are going to create keys, unique keys based on the tuples. So we need to say here the campaign ID. That's the first value. Then the next thing we want to do is the donation ID. I don't know whether I created a donation ID. Yeah, we do have donation ID. I need to import it here like that. So this is unique, and then we can just do the donation there. I need to write donation like that. Did I import donation? I did not. Like that. So we have donations that have been done like that. So we want to be able to track account donation, donor donations. Let's just do maybe account donations, something like of sort. And we're also going to use a legacy map. And in this legacy map, we want to be able to track the amount of donations made by a given account. So how can we achieve this? So to achieve this is we also need to be able to track a given account. So for that reason, I'm going to do another struct here. Since we are dealing with donors, I can safely say maybe, let's just even say account, maybe it can be easier that way. And the address here I want to do is the donor ID. And for this case, we can just safely use contract address because we want to have a separate, is it separate concerns? I don't know, something of sort. So we want to be able to track in the campaign donation, it's a donor, but in the account, it's an address with a contract address. That's why it's changed the keys or the types so as to match the current environment we are at. And here we can just maybe say the donations count. Also, because we are tracking donations as U128, let's just leave at that, like that. So this user has made a number of donations, or this account has made a number of donations. We'll get back to this when things will start coming together. Everything will just cave in and everything will just lighten up. Yeah. So we want to be able to track the donations made by an account. By this, we want to be able to say maybe the account address, which account address made the donation, and maybe the U128, that's the donation ID in fact. And at the end, we also want to just save the donation ID. That's the value. We don't have to save the donation because it has been saved under donations. Yeah, so I think here things are quite complex, and I think this can be placed in a place where it is more of accessible and public. So I need to just say donations and campaign donations. Yeah, I think this can be something like campaign donations, and this we can have here as donations, which is a legacy map of so in this legacy map, okay, in this legacy map we are going to have the donation ID, and this number can go as high, so let's just keep it due to 56 here. And that's why I said sort of that if we are using the donation IDs, it will be much better and easier. Donation, easier to quickly change everything up. So here I can just switch, instead of using the donation, I use the donation ID. Yep, like that. So I'll explain this once more, but let me just quickly switch the donation ID to be a larger number, like that. Just safe, but it's not good to use numbers that are not being used anyway. So the reason as where I have U256 as the donation ID is to help us. Okay, the reason as we have decided to track the donation separately is to be able to use the donation ID in two different places. First, where we are using campaign donations, we just track a unique key campaign ID and the donation ID to a given donation. And also we have account donations, account address, the donation ID to a given donation ID. Yeah, this will be unique because this one will be changing. Let me just quickly add some things here. Donations underscore count. This one will also be U256. So let's try put things together and see whether it will work out or not. Because let's say we have donation 1, because the number here, this will be the donation ID here, and it will be incrementing. So each account will say they have, and the donation ID will be different, and hence different donation IDs. Okay, yeah, it is quite confusing at that particular point, because trying to track data, I want to be able to say I have 1, 2, 3. Oh, yeah, now it's just coming in. So you see the number here, the donation ID number here is quite different. It's not like the donation ID that we are getting from the donations, but should be the same. So just finding a way of tracking the same donation down based on a given number here. So this will be donation number 1. Let me just write it down. I believe with this it can be easier for me. So let's say I have donation number 1 to campaign 1. I have donation number 3 to campaign 10. Then for the campaigns, I have campaign 1 to 10. And I want to be able to track campaign donations. And the donation ID is quite different. It's not like the same. So this should be sort of an incremental number. And also this is an incremental number based on the number of campaign donations and based on the account donations. Yeah, I think that one's right. When we'll implement that, when everything will kick in. But as I said, we don't have arrays, we have to implement something like arrays. And the good thing of doing something like this, if you remember, we had something here, get campaigns per category and get campaigns, all campaigns. We can paginate that. That's sort of something we can do because we are tracking information here. So donations count, also we have donations count under campaign. Yeah, so I'll just read this information and try to use it down as we go on. So we have the storage struct there, and the next part is to do our traits, or in the implementations. How do we do the implementation? So this is a sample implementation. I'm just going to copy it and paste it here and comment everything, and everything is more of a public. Then I can safely delete the rest. We don't really need this. Okay, but we want the stacknet interface, and the rest can be gone. So let me just do for the trait here, then we'll get back up there and start doing the rest of the stuff. So we want to implement the first trait, that is a donation trait. So I want to do donation MBL implementation for a donation trait. Then I'm going to get rid of the functions here. So that goes to donation MBL I donation trait. So remember, it's super I donation trait something. And the reason as to why we are having here is because we are missing the required functions create campaign and donate. So we'll get back to this in a moment. Let's go and clean our code a bit. Why do I have this error? It shouldn't be there. Did I miss something? Let me quickly check. Why are you complaining? Trade core sad donation. Yeah, sad. Yeah, so let's just implement the rest of the stuff. So for our category here, we are going to add some macros. So we are going to derive copy, drop, and also we are going to introduce sad or sad. I don't know, sad. So our error is gone. The reason as to why something like sad is required is because of the hashing, because we are trying to use donation here when we are implementing our donation. Where is it? Reading or using category as a parameter here and here. So that one will require the source sad. And also the other one we are going to do here is stacknet store. We want this one to be able to be stored. So yep, you also need stacknet store. So you can just copy that and do the same for the campaign struct, but we don't need sad because we are not using like passing in an entire campaign into any function as a parameter. Same for campaign. And so why do we need store? It's because we are using them in our storage struct here. That's why we need the stacknet store on top of them. You don't really need to keep them out. Yeah. Then after that, we also need to do it for account like that. So we also need to sort of track different accounts that we currently have in our system. And yep, so let's just do that. Where is it? Yeah, let's go to the stacknet storage and introduce accounts as the first one here. And we are just going to do a legacy map of account address and account like this. So I don't think if we have account address or we had already imported it. No, we didn't, so we need to import it and it's not there, so we need to create it. Type account address equals to contract address like that. So the reason as to where I'm not using contract address, even if we want a contract address here, is to just separate concerns a bit so that we can be able to see, okay, this is an account address. What's an account address? It's a contract address. This is a donation ID. So otherwise you'll be seeing the terms like these ones here. Let me just show you for example. So you can be seeing contract address there, and here you'll be seeing the nice invisible stuff, the so-called U256. So if you are reading such a contract, you'll be like, okay, what's going on here? What goes where? And what is this? So even if you were to come to this contract later on with the right information put like this, oh, you can be able to quickly map everything out. That's why I'm sort of, is it aliasing the types? Yeah, using the type keyword. So this way you can be able to say, oh, account address, oh, okay, yep, that's why I'm sort of doing that to avoid using U256 everywhere and the contract address everywhere. So I can get rid of this. I'll explain how the stuffs work as we go on, how we can be able to track campaign donations and also account donations without affecting the original donation ID. The next part is now we are at the storage. Now it's implementing the functions, and I think it's best that we do the so-called tree shaking a bit, because it's time to tree shake here. So the first one I want to do is to move out my utils. So I'm likely to do something like utils.cairo, and in my utils I'm not like going to do heavy stuff. Just copy that and move it there. That's the first thing. Now I need to import contract address here, so I can just import it. Okay. Let me get rid of this space and say use stacknet I want the contract address. Okay, stacknet. I want the contract address. Then now everything is complaining because some of these things are not available. But yeah, so the next part is these categories and structs and all those stuff. So I'm going to copy all of this. Let's say I had a lot of structs, so that's why I'm sort of moving them into a different file. So I'm going to do a file here, custom underscore structs dot cairo, and I'm going to paste them there. So after doing that, the next portion is moving out my let's go back to here, the traits or the so-called interfaces. So I'm going to copy them like this and create a new file, call it interfaces.cairo, paste them there. So I have my main donation contract. I'm also going to move it to somewhere else. So I'm going to create a new file here, and I'm going to call this one donation underscore contract dot cairo. I'm going to paste it there. So everything is totally segregated and separated, but let's go to lib.cairo and put things together. So I want to do utils.cairo here. So do mod utils. The next one I'm going to do mod custom structs like this. And you might ask, why did custom structs? You are not sure whether these things are right, so I usually sort of use ambiguous classes, so totally some random names to avoid having problems with any other inbuilt libraries. Then I'm going to do interfaces. Then I have mod donation contract. Yep, like that. Okay, did mod like that. Now everything's linked up and we are having several problems, so we quickly solve them. So this one is sort of saying use this. So instead of now doing this one, I need to go to donation. Then maybe okay, I have all this imported from, they are coming from different files, so I believe they can be imported separately, in fact. So yeah, let me just import them separately because they come from different files. Interfaces, I need category, and from I need category, campaign ID. Yeah, so at this particular page, let me start with this. Is it the last one? Yeah, I believe let's start with this. So use donation, and for this we want to get the path, so I can go to utils, and for utils I want to import what do I need? I need the campaign ID, I also need the donation ID, I also need the donor ID. What else do I need? Yep, I believe that's it, that comes from this particular file. And account address, maybe account address like this. And then I'm going to use stacknet. And let me get rid of this other use. I'm going to get to use stacknet contract address, I believe. So this file will be secure. And in interfaces, I need to use donation, and the path I'm using here is like sort of the entire path. So donation is the project name, or that's whatever is given under the scarp.tom file. Then after donation, I need to do something like we have custom structs, I believe that's the thing. Then from there I want to import the category, and also I want to import the already have campaign ID there, but I'm not going to import it from there, but I can just import what comes from there and campaign donation, something like this. Then the two things that come from the utils, I want to import them. That's the campaign ID. I don't have donation ID here. Sounds I don't have one there. Or I need to do a semicolon afterwards. Now that is for the interfaces. Then we have the donations here. I need to also import the right stuff. So use donation, and what I want to do I want the interfaces, and from the interfaces I want to import the iDonation trait, iHelper trait. Yep, those two, because I want to implement them below. Then from donation custom structs, I want to import the account. We have the donation, we have campaign. Yep, I think those are the ones that come from there. Oh, I think this one should be campaign donation, and for the donation this should be campaign donation, not just donation. Then finally we need to import something from the so-called utils, and from the utils we need to import the account address, the donation ID, the campaign ID. Yep, that's it. So just test out whether everything is good. So run scab, maybe build or something. Yeah, so according to this we don't have any errors. So since we have not like implemented this to have the errors, so far so good. We have done like the first critical part. So before I just continue, let me quickly do like a recap and we can then proceed, because yeah, there have been a number of things here happening around. So don't know the starting point, but let's start with the lib.cairo. So with the lib.cairo we decided like we want to sort of move everything out so that we can be able to introduce more other maybe contract interfaces, or other, maybe for example you want to even use Pragma with your contract, maybe Okubo hooks, or so, or ERC20, ERC20 contract interface. The best way you can do is if you move everything out of the lib.cairo and just link everything there using the mod keyword. That way now you can be able to access any of these files or any of the content of these files of these modules from any module, in any module of your contract. Then in the utils module, if I may start with that one, we just did our simple stuff there, just defining types. Let's say you even had something like a constant, maybe something like a const donation fee. So here's where you can put it, and you say it's maybe 2_123 maybe that's the donation fee. I think this should be lowercase. Can I do like a u that too? Yeah, so you decided in every donation that's the constant donation fee that people should pay before they do their donation. That's where you do your util stuff. Even some other function, maybe calculation functions, like a function to calculate the power. Okay, return. Okay, I don't know how to write this, but I want to write a function that takes in Desmos and the amount of tokens, then returns the real value. So maybe real value. So this function is a simple function. Maybe it takes in the tokens. Maybe these are U256. Then it goes ahead to calculate the real value, that is something tokens U256 and maybe the decimals, maybe you, I don't think they are too large, then it will return U256. So I need to return that, so you have to do something like 10 to the power of decimals. I can't do to the power. So yeah, this way Alexandria comes in using the power function. So you need to import the Alexandria and do your stuff. So here you can use Alexandria. So Alexandria is another nice mathematical library to help you with such like calculations. So it has a power function that will do the required stuff. Then after that, we did the custom structs. That's another, we just subdivided everything. So in the custom structs, we have our enum for categories, we have our campaign, then we have our campaign donation, then we have the account there. So in this case, we just have the required structs and the required enums. If you have to add another one, you can just add here, but it's just sort of cleaning up things, not really that helpful. But if you are alone, then you can just do everything in a single file, but it's going to be a really large file. Then after custom structs, we have the interfaces. Where are the interfaces? So these are just traits. So I didn't add the StackNet interface to this other trait. So remember to also add on yours. I'm getting an error. What's it saying? Okay, I think there must be something that is not, has no Saturday donation campaign. Okay, do I return? Am I using campaign somewhere? Oh, because I'm returning sort of this and also returning. Okay, let me just introduce the SAD to the rest of the structs to allow the serialization and deserialization. If you are familiar with the Rust, it has something I think to do with this, or am I just seeing things from the near protocol? It's because we want to also be able to return like a complex return value that's like this entire campaign, etc. That's where SAD is required. And then after that, let's look at the next part. So where our interfaces? So our interfaces are secure. So that's how you can solve some errors. If you hover over the error, just try to find where the problem comes from, then try to implement. Sometimes things can go south. For example, when doing your implementations, the copy, it might fail, mult might fail, and all those stuff. You might need to implement them for each of your traits and each of in your implementations. We are done with the interfaces, then the donation contract itself. Now this is the contract place. So at our contract here, we are going to do a number of things. Number one, do the implementations of our traits, and number two, do the events. So this is where most of the complex parts come in. And what I can say, so far so good. Let's push that one to the next part. Yeah, if you have any questions, maybe post them in the comments section on YouTube, or maybe reach out to me directly at Dalmasonto in Telegram, or to Cindy at Cindy Kamau. Yeah, so thanks so much. Let's meet on the next part where we do the implementations and also where we work on the events.